Embodiment Conference, the 10 o'clock UK time call. I'm feeling like I need a bit more energy here, so can we unmute all the mics, Arabella? Let's do a little bit of a cheer.
Yeah.
So 1, 2, 3. Everyone give a little bit of cheer and a clap.
I throw a lot at them.
Okay, that's enough. Enough shenanigans. Okay, so we have on this evening session Brooke McNamara. So Brooke is just one of my favorite people on the whole planet, frankly. She is a professional dancer, does awesome, beautiful dance. I saw her perform not long ago in Budapest. She is a Zen teacher, so she sits Zen quite seriously. She's a poet. She's known for her beautiful poetry. She describes herself sometimes as a Zen mama. So very much in the world and also stepping out of it. So many talents. It's ridiculous. Brooke, you are so welcome. We've got 55 minutes to enjoy you. So over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mark. Can you all hear me? Okay, great. Okay, I am just so excited and so honored to be here, and was very emotional from the launch party yesterday, hearing all of the countries and seeing all of you show up. I know for some of you it's really late at night right now, and some of you who are watching right now are tuning in after the fact, so welcome to you as well. Thanks, Mark, for the intro. I don't know about past lives, but I do know that I walked up to my mom when I was about 3 years old and started like rolling my stomach, and I was walking on my toes, and I said, "I'm a ballerina," and I meant it, like for real. I'm a ballerina, and I also started to write poetry when I was very young, like probably 7 or so. I would contemplate I had a pet cockatiel bird that I was in love with, who would like ride on my finger or my hair or my shoulder and like poop on me, and we were just best friends. And I was so struck by the question of whether my pet bird Bart felt trapped by his cage or felt safe from his cage. And so I was obsessed by this question, and I wrote my first poem, just exploring, this very existential question of whether my pet felt contained or cut off from his cage. And so dance and poetry are both really like very native, original languages or ways of being for me. And then meditation and yoga came later in my teens and 20s, but all 4 of those domains feel like home base to me. And after I had my first son, and anyone who's been through labor and birth knows what an uncontrollable and a diverse experience of sort of forced opening that is. After I went through my first experience of birthing, I had this flood of creative energy run through me. It was a few months later, and realized that the only way I could move forward in an integrated way would be to write a book, to write poetry and sort of integrate this experience into poetry. And since then, it's been about 4 years, and I have lived my way into a way of writing that feels like a unique offering that I can put into the world. So it's not something, I got my degree in writing poetry, and I learned a lot of beautiful things and a lot of techniques and tools. And then side by side, I learned a lot of techniques and tools in dance and in yoga, and have a lot of practice with meditation. But in terms of poetry, there's some way of writing that has started to work me over the past 4 years that feels definitely embodied, and for me feels worth offering. So I'm going to talk just a little bit, and then I really want to guide you through an experience today. So it's not a methodology. The intention is that it's an experience, a direct experience of aliveness and of tenderness And right next to tenderness, resilience. Because a lot of times people emphasize tenderness and then we just turn into a puddle of emotion, which is beautiful. But I think right next to or inside of tenderness, it's helpful to experience and invoke our resilience. And that's something my Zen teacher often brings up. So aliveness, tenderness, resilience. And within that space, I want to invite the possibility that we each make contact with our own unique voice. And not only that, but that we find a way to voice our own unique voice. Not for just, self-congratulation, but because there's wisdom and core important feelings in our bodies that when voiced, awaken others. So we know when we hear someone speaking or moving from their depth or from their body, we respond from our depth and from our body. And in graduate school for dance, the term for that we were taught is empathic kinesthetic perception, which is a fancy way of saying that where we're coming from is contagious. So I want to take us on an experience that takes us in through the threshold of deep feeling and our body's kind of realm, territory of sensation, raw sensation. And can we speak from, write from sensation, from the level of sensation? So one more quick thing, and then we'll start to actually move through a process. The title of my book and the title of this session is Feed Your Vow. So just to slow down for a second and double click on each word, I think that could be helpful in terms of what and why are we about to do. Starting with vow, we can think of, for the purpose of this process and moving forward, if you want to take this process into your life, I think of vow as that which I most deeply want or long for. So the Buddha said, have few desires, but have great ones. So it's kind of this like clarification of desire and longing. What do I most want? And then simultaneously, when I can feel into what I most want, it seems like that what I most want has a desire for me. It wants to live me, it wants to use me. So we're going to kind of go into that territory of what's most important. And is there a sense of like, I, as a body-mind vehicle, am moving towards something that's also moving toward me? So that quote, I think it's St. Francis of Assisi, said, that which we long for longs for us, or that which we are looking for is also looking. So that to me is vow. That's my most deep purpose, or maybe what even brought me here. So starting with that, vow. And then the feed part is the practice part. It's how, like, in an ordinary, practical, like boots on the ground, rubber meets the road kind of way, how am I, as a human being, courting that which is most important? How am I courting it? How am I showing up? Do I come to the page if writing is my practice, if writing is part of what's most important? Do I come to the page daily? Do I show up and actually give myself to a discipline that tells that which is most important that I'm a worthy vehicle? So how do I feed? How do I practice? How do I show up in that sort of active, linear kind of way for what is most important? So feed, vow, and then the in-between word is also super important to me, your. It's not feed a vow, yours, because there's no one else that can feed that vow in that way. And people often are wondering, like, how do I find my original voice, or how do I find originality in creativity, or how do I find authenticity? And my way is like through the back door. So you can try to just dive in and try to be original with what you're writing, or you can do the opposite and find what really turns you on in terms of poetry or writing or whatever art form you practice, and imitate the F out of it. Like, imitate it so fully that you really try to exactly recreate what this person is doing. And then in trying to imitate what they're doing, you'll notice the subtle differences between this person you look up to and you. And in those subtle differences between what they're doing and what you're doing is part of your uniqueness. So you can start to pull out your uniqueness by imitating. So, feed your vow. And the way that we're going to practice feeding our particular vows is through moving, resting, hearing, listening, and then expressing. So as much as you can participate is great, to whatever degree, whatever energy level you have. As we start to move, you can turn your camera off if it helps you feel more comfortable. I want you to feel free. So if you feel more free having your camera on and being seen, moving and expressing yourself in fun ways, keep your camera on. If you feel more free turning it off, feel free. So if you would please either turn your camera off or leave it on, stand up. So find a standing position. We're going to start with a really easy, gentle warm-up. So it's the brain dance, and the brain dance is from Anne Green Gilbert from Seattle. And she created this series of 8 developmental movement patterns that awaken the brain and the body. And they can be done with any population of people, children, all the way up through elders. So it'll be nice and gentle. Take it as large or as subtle as you like. So starting standing, can you all still hear me? Can you give me a thumbs up if you can still hear me? Let me see.
Yeah, since people can hear you, I can.
You can? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, so start standing. And it starts with breath. So pausing after all of that language and just feel your body on the earth. And take a breath into the lower lobes of the lungs. So as low down as you can. And then an open mouth exhale. If you want, you can put your hands on your belly and breathe in and down to your belly. Let your belly swell. And then exhale, open mouth. Close your eyes if you like. Big breath in, into the belly. Open mouth, exhale. Good, keep the breath nice and full, and we're gonna move into tactile stimulation. So start with your arms and just start squeezing one of your arms from fingertips up. So squeezing your arm and come across your chest and squeeze down the other arm. We're stimulating through our skin, through touch. Come to your head, squeeze your scalp, your face, your neck, your shoulders, your belly. Moving kind of quickly, moving down your right leg, squeezing. If you're sitting, you can do this, maybe not if you're driving. Squeeze your other leg. Then start from your feet, move up and start tapping. So tap your skin to wake it up. Tactile stimulation, tap down your other leg. Tap your belly, your butt, your back. Tap up to your chest, open your mouth, release your voice. Up to your shoulders. Down your arms. Now gently with your fingertips, tap your face. Tap your head. Good, and then another big breath in. Open mouth, exhale. Good, now bend your knees. Bring your hands onto your thighs, and we're just gonna move our spine. So we're gonna do head to tail. So we went through breath, tactile stimulation. Now move your head and your tail towards each other like this. Let me take this off. You can see. So head and tail toward each other. Now move your head and tail away from each other. And then head and tail toward each other, just moving the spine. Head and tail away. Now do head and tail both to the left, both to the right, both to the left. And now make circles. So head and tail forward, to the right, to the back, to the left. And close your eyes so you can really feel the inner landscape as you move your spine. Switch directions. Good, and then let this evolve or devolve into any spinal movement that feels good to you. So snaking or undulating, close your eyes, almost like you're out at the club, the Embodiment Conference club, and just let it feel like it's giving you a bit more energy, a bit more fluidity. And like you're milking the central axis of the body for life force and spaciousness. And this can be as subtle, small, or big, dramatic as feels awakening, enlivening, and balancing to you. Good. All right, come back up to standing. Notice how you feel different already. Take another big breath in and out, and then bend your knees and just take some twisting, reaching with your arms. So you're getting some cross-lateral movement. So we did breath, tactile stimulation, head to tail, lateral movement of the spine, and now we're doing cross-lateral, which helps balance the two hemispheres of the brain. Good, now come back to center and just shake like you have a jackhammer under your feet. Shake. The more that you have jiggling off the bones, the better. And then open your mouth and release your vocal apparatus so that your voice expresses the shaking. And if this is a 5, turn it up to a 6. And then a 7. Really start to let energy move through your body. And an 8, 9, all the way up to a 10. And now stop, stick your tongue out, and exhale. Nice. Beautiful. We're all around the world, but I could see and feel some of you doing that. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so now that we're a little warmed up from the brain dance, we're going to do 2 quick games to get our heart rate up. So first game, if you're willing to be a little bit playful for a moment, and it'll get some life force moving. Otherwise, you can just watch people. It's very entertaining if you're too tired or you're injured or something. So if you're able to participate, stand in one place, and then you're going to get 10 seconds. I'm going to count to 10, and you're going to leave the place, either walk away from it, run away, go to the floor, jump in the air, and by 10, you're back in your place. So you might need to jump a few times, or maybe you're an advanced yogi who can levitate, or you just walk away or go to the ground, but by 10, you're back in your place. Clear? Okay, great. Then we'll do 9, then 8, then 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So by each of those numbers, you're back in your place. Okay, I'll remind you as we're going which number to be back by. Again, if you're not participating, just watch, it's fun. Are you ready? Make sure you keep breathing as you go. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, some of you were late. You got to be back right on the dot. This time by 9. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now by 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. By 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now by 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3. 1, 2, 3. Now 2. 1, 2. Now 1. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Good. Take a big breath in and out. Good. Now just walk around your space. Feel the blood pumping. Walk around your space. And I want you to notice while you're walking 3 different things in your space that bring you pleasure or joy. So just keep walking. And just look around. So even if you're sitting, you can just look around, open your senses to your immediate environment and see what colors, shapes, objects, dogs, skeletons, what brings you pleasure, and just notice, really receive the visual and felt sense of the object. And then as you receive that pleasure, whether it's like, you know, a subtle pleasure or a really explosive pleasure, start to allow pleasure to move your body. So the next thing we're going to do is just move for about a minute. I'll play a song. And if you feel self-conscious, just close your eyes. And the only rule is to just keep moving. Ideally, you're moving from what makes you feel pleasure or enjoyment or something, you know, even if you're just curious. So for just about a minute, move, don't stop moving. It doesn't have to be cool. It doesn't have to be dance. You're just moving without stopping. Here we go. as the volume quiets, let your movement also quiet, so that once the sound is silent, the movement is still. So see if you can keep moving until it's completely silent. You can close your eyes if that helps. And then pause. Whatever position you're in, pause. And just breathe and feel. Tasting with your whole being the aliveness that you just created in 10 minutes of moving. And use your breath deep in the inhale to spread the aliveness to a few more cells in the body. And exhale all the way to emptiness. Inhale, imagine you could spread the aliveness or life force or presence a bit further in through your cells, and then exhaling all the way to emptiness. And just savor this buzzing, pulsing, undulating field that you just created, savoring it for a few more breaths. Or if you're inspired or willing, if you'd be open to share in the chat, just name your current state. You just type in, what word would you give to label your current state after about 10 minutes of movement practice? So we've got bliss, vibrating, juicy, tickling inside, high, pulsing, relaxing, rooted. Nice. Curiosity, contented, warm. How about anybody who was more observing that? Do you feel a bit of a contagious buzz? Anticipation? Pulsation? Excellent. So really great work, because we co-created this energy. Happy, energetic, and peaceful, effervescent, natural. Nice. Thank you so much for playing. Sometimes people just look at me with kind of a nasty resistance when I want to play games, especially, but I love games. Go ahead and lay down. So let's not come too much into a social space. If you can, go ahead and lay down. We're going to transition into a more meditative part of the experience. If you can't lay down, just find any position where you're relaxed and awake. So if you're laying down, just make sure you stay awake. And just continue to breathe into the effervescence or pulsation or whatever it is that is most vivid in your experience. And now we're going to do a very abbreviated but possibly very potent version of yoga nidra, which is yogic sleep or conscious relaxation. So right after amplifying life force through movement, we're now going to drop our awareness into our body in a really conscious way, translating our mind through our body in a really full way. So when I name a body part, once you've become still, when I name a body part, I want you to put your mind into that body part. In other words, become that body part rather than looking at it from above. So I'll name a body part. You're just going to simply be inside of, breathing as that body part as much as you're able. You can just experiment with that. So starting with chest. Can you drop your mind into your chest, your heart? And whatever sensations are alive in the space of your chest and heart, can you enter inside the sensations? Instead of observing them, can you enter the inside of those sensations in your chest? And now belly. Going inside the sensations of the belly. Pelvis. Become your pelvis. At the level of sensation, become your pelvis. The whole right leg and foot. Can you be your right leg and foot breathing? And can you become your left leg and foot? Giving yourself the gift of simply experiencing yourself at the level of sensation of the left leg and foot. And then your right arm and hand. Become your right arm and hand breathing. Left arm and hand. And then neck and head. Enter into the inside of the sensations in the neck and the head. And for right now, including thoughts as sensations. So if there are thoughts happening, getting curious about them as forms of sensation and simply entering into and feeling intimate with all the sensations of the neck and the head. And then finally, can you not think too much, but just inhabit the whole body from toes to the crown of the head at the level of raw sensation. So releasing for right now any kind of narrative about who I am, who you are, and simply feeling and breathing from the inside of sensation. Just kind of surfing and bobbing around, contracting and expanding, pulsing, and feeling the whole body at the level of sensation. And then if it's available and interesting, you can continue to feel the gross physical body at the level of sensation and also feel more subtle energies. So the subtle body, you can feel the prana or the chi, or you can invite awareness of prana and chi. . And simultaneously, as you feel the gross body and the subtle body, if it's available and interesting, you can also access the causal body, the Dharmakaya, or some kind of access to an infinite, luminous emptiness, perhaps the divine. If anything brings you up into your head and trying to cognitively figure out what's going on, just see if you can enter back into sensation, breathe as sensation. If it's easy and interesting, also accessing subtle energies. If it's easy and interesting, also accessing or inviting the causal body. And so just breathing as the whole of you. And then turning on this capacity to listen from this wholehearted, embodied place as the whole of you, beginning to listen. First, attuning your listening inward to all kinds of tiny dances happening, microscopic processes. Just listening to all the machinery and all the silence of what is happening inward, microscopically. And then as much as you're able, if you can shift this capacity to listen, start to turn the dial from only listening inward to also listening outward. And first listening horizontally. Like, what if I could hear in this room? What if I could also sense? So by listening, I mean hearing and sensing. Could I extend senses horizontally around the globe to the others that are participating in this experience right now? Maybe just people in this building, but maybe the whole country or the whole globe. Maybe humans, maybe also plants, animals, the earth herself. So listening horizontally. And I know we're moving kind of quickly, but staying flexible in our perception and just experimental. Just experiment. Can I now also listen outwardly, upward, up into the cosmos, and backward, downward, into the center of the earth herself? Could I listen down into the molten core of the earth and up into infinite space? And then could I just experiment with doing all of those at once, listening inwardly, horizontally, back and down into the earth, and then up and out into infinite space? Could I let go so much that I'm perceiving all these various dimensions of myself? As a body here breathing, and as more than a body here breathing, as a big cosmic body. And in this place, I'm going to read you a poem that I wrote a few months ago, and you can allow the words to just be kind of a waterfall over you. And you can allow whatever meaning wants to land in you to land. But please don't effort to understand anything. Just listening in that multidimensional way and letting what lands in you land. This is called Break. Rest now. Let the weight you run from every day now draw you down. Later, there will be time to tend to everything left undone. Now, rest. Fall into your own bones lying horizontal on this ground. Come into your dark corners. Come into this original nakedness under all the layers. Come where all your losses split you open. Don't rise yet. Rest. Be drawn deeper down into the salt tide of tears. Let grief wash you, then drown you beyond the name you first were given when you reached to touch your own mother's face for the very first time, and she smiled her light down into you. Now reach those same fingers for the face of infinity, so that, opening your eyes, you will know the one dreaming you is pleased with you, that everything seen is yourself, and that now is the time to rise wholehearted into the work, aching to be animated by precisely you. So keeping this attentional gesture of listening in, listening out in all directions, can you simply roll to one side if you're on your back and then come to a sitting posture? So we're also not popping into social mode. We're staying in this meditative gesture, but come upright. So from that horizontal posture, come upright into a sitting posture and have your writing utensils near you. So your paper and your pen or your computer. But don't grab them yet. Just stay in this upright posture where your spine is upright and you feel alert and relaxed now in this upright posture. And your eyes can be closed or your gaze can be soft with eyes softly open. Just feel yourself upright. And I'm just going to read that one more time, just letting it land a little deeper, a little differently now that you're upright. Eyes closed or softly open. Break. Rest now. Let the weight you run from every day now draw you down. Later, there will be time to tend to everything left undone. Now, rest. Fall into your own bones lying horizontal on this ground. Come into your dark corners. Come into this original nakedness under all the layers. Come where all your losses split you open. Don't rise yet. Rest. Be drawn deeper down into the salt tide of tears. Let grief wash you, then drown you beyond the name you first were given when you reached to touch your own mother's face for the very first time, and she smiled her light down into you. Now reach those same fingers for the face of infinity, so that, opening your eyes, you will know the one dreaming you is pleased with you, that everything seen is yourself, and that now is the time to rise wholehearted into the work, aching to be animated by precisely you. So now we're going to turn into voicing. So just like you did when you were moving from curiosity, enjoyment, or pleasure, and you were just moving without stopping. You've all done this before, probably. You're just going to write without stopping. And I'm going to give you a few different sentence completion stems. And if you catch one and you want to ride that, you can complete that sentence and keep going wherever it takes you. You can ignore what I'm saying. You can catch some of them and ignore some of them. But we're just going to write for about 5 minutes. Let yourself make mistakes, let yourself not know, but just keep writing. So the first prompt is, what I most want is. So right now, as the voice of this whole being, what I most want is. Keep going. What I really most want is. What I really most want is. What I also really most want is. What I also really most want is. What wants me is. What wants me is. What I really need to hear right now is. What I really need or want to hear right now is. What I have to say before I die is. What I have to say before I die is. If I could speak beyond my death, what I would most want to say is. If I could speak beyond my death, what I would most want to say is. And then start to put a period or an ellipsis or a comma at the end. Maybe you'll come back to it. Maybe you're going to complete it right there. And again, if you're willing, I would love to just harvest a few reflections from you. First of all, were you surprised by anything that you wrote? You can put it in the chat just for the sake of time. Were you surprised by anything that you wrote? Did something come out of you just now that you maybe have never heard yourself say? Yes, indeed. Yeah. Go with the flow down the rivers. So in a way, I mean, that was sort of silly to ask you all of those very big questions in like 5 minutes, and possibly annoying to have them like layered in when you're not done with the one before and I'm just kind of rushing you. It's kind of silly because you can't complete your thoughts, but it's also a very great way to interrupt our habitual responses. So in a way, if we're just going and in movement and continuing, we might not have time to edit something that really wanted to squirt out onto the page. So I try to find in writing, I try to find ways to interrupt habit, whether it's getting up really early in the morning where I'm too tired to edit, or doing some kind of a movement and meditation like we just did, or speeding things up, or slowing things really far down. Also, if you'd be willing to share, can you feel right now, can you feel your unique voice? It's not just like about speaking, but can you feel it in your body? Can you feel your unique voice awake right now? And if so, can you feel like somewhere or somewheres in your body where it comes from, or where it lives, or at least right now? I see some of you gesturing. Yes, I feel the urge to write more. Great. I hope that you continue if you have time. May you be at peace. I am at peace. Great. So a lot of you that are responding say that you do feel your unique voice and you do feel it in your body. Awesome. And then just to note, what's your state of being right now? I know sometimes it's hard to put that into words, but if you had to label it, what's your state of being right now after going through movement, rest, meditation, listening, and voicing? Excited, sleepy, vulnerable, processing, awake, contemplative, deeply connected, relaxed, exalted, on the edge of tears, grounded, in touch with myself. Thank you so much for sharing here and awake. Thank you so much. I feel weirdly connected to you all, even though we haven't had the time to actually speak to each other because I wanted to go through that process. I really appreciate you going for the ride. I would love to continue the conversation if you want to reach out. There's so much more we could explore, but I appreciate you showing up so fully for such a multi-dimensional ride in such a compact offering.
Brooke, thank you so much for your offering today. Can we all give Brooke a little bit of appreciation? Throw in some love.
Thank you. Thank you
Brooke,
so much.
So in terms of finding out more about you, I've got one of your websites here up on my computer. I want to check it's the right one. So I've got brookemcnamara.com. Is that the one to share, or is there other ones?
BrookeMcNamara.com is being updated right now, and by the end of next month, it will be awesome. But right now, the best place is feedyourvow.com. And that's where you can join my newsletter, buy my book, just see more about what I do. And if you join my newsletter, then I'll let you know when Brooke McNamara is ready. And I also have an upcoming free online poetry course called 9 Poems to Enliven Your Days. So you can join that at the end of next month. And then also for moms, I'm creating an online 6-week course called Right to the Heart of Motherhood. So if you're a mother, or you know moms who would benefit from using their voice in the middle of the mess of raising children, send them my way. And I'm also on Facebook, Brooke McNamara Poetry. And I'm on Instagram, brooke.mcnamara.poetry. And I offer something every day.
Brooke, thank you very much for joining us today. Much appreciated. I'm sure we'll see you on the Facebook group.
Yep.
Other things going on in another 1 hour. We have something totally different offered from the States. We have Chandler and Rafe. So I saw Chandler on here earlier. They're movement culture people. So Rafe spends his time running up and down trees and doing parkour and wrestling, and very strong sort of cognitive evolutionary psychology background. So utterly different, but equally wonderful to this. And he's with Chandler, who's another guy from that kind of world who I rate highly. I think it's not so much of an active session, though. There'll be no tree climbing involved, but that'll be in 1 hour. So I may be joining from bed from a horizontal position. If you want to buy recordings, the special offer ends in 30 minutes. So that's available now. If you want to get all the freebies, go to that link. Arabella, if you could share that link. Again, it's at the top of the chat if not. And also we ask that people support our chosen charity, which is LGBTQ+ Russia. If anyone wants to help out with the trauma and the stress training and the leadership training we do there, if I've said if everyone from the conference gave £1, then they'd more than smash their targets for, helping people out there. So great. We are going to do the normal coffee room breakouts in a minute. Before then, is there any sort of general conference related questions from anyone? Please wave furiously at me. Or put your hand up in the chat, should that feel undignified. Oh, okay. So the coffee break thing, if you've not done it, you don't have to drink coffee, but here's how it works. We will offer to put you in a breakout group. You can process a little bit, chat, you can meet new friends, you can talk shit, you can gossip, you can discuss how cool Brooke's earrings are, you can decide who's buying her book poetry first, you can share deep spiritual and emotional insights you've had from the sessions, anything at all. It's just a place to chat and hang out, because what we've discovered is on conferences that tends to be the best time in many ways. So if you don't want to join into one of those groups, then please leave now. Please leave the session, then you won't be put in a group before it happens. Daniela, anything you'd like to pass on before you go to bed to get some much deserved sleep? You can't
unmute her 1 second. Yeah.
Hey, no, it's a great start to the session. I will actually be there for Chandler and Rafe, as I will host them.
Are you serious?
I'm serious, yes.
I'm not going to let you do that. I'm not going to let you do
We'll
that.
find a different host, Mark.
I'll do it. Go to bed. Go to bed.
Awesome. That's my boss, you see? That's helpful here.
You need some
Thanks,
rest.
Mark. Much love, much appreciated.
Okay, bye, darling. Wonderful work. Okay, breakout groups, everyone. Breakout groups. We're going to put you in groups. Arabella, you still there, my dear?
Yeah, I'm on it. Just waiting for people to leave. The numbers keep going down.
Okay.
So a few more seconds. All right.
Let's do it.
Bye. Okay. Off you go. These will be on for about 15 minutes.
Cool. Arabella, who's the technical host for the Chandler and Rafe session?
Someone who's actually on this call. I don't know if she's still here. Someone called Sheila. Oh, there she is. I'll unmute you, Sheila. Say hi to Mark.
Oh, cool.
Hi, Mark. It's me.
Hey, Sheila. Where are you in the world?
I'm in Canada, British Columbia.
Okay, cool. Well, let's do this call together. If I pass out halfway through, then you can take over. But it's relatively straightforward. So if there's 2 of us on it, it should be fine.
Good.
Okay, I'm going to have my bath now, and then I'll see you on the call.